St. Louis Art Fair next on CityCorner. Hi, I'm Sarah Thompson, and welcome to CityCorner. Well, the St. Louis Art Fair is coming up really soon, and what makes this year very special is that it's the 30th anniversary. And this just isn't any art fair. The St. Louis Art Fair consistently ranks as one of the nation's top fine art fairs. So we're going to learn all about the details today, learn the secret mojo behind what makes it so special. I'm joined in this first segment by Sarah Umlauf, who is the Executive Director of Cultural Festivals, which is the producer of the St. Louis Art Fair. First, I want to say thank you for being here, because I know how busy you are. This is like busy peak time for you, so thank you.
Oh, no problem. It is crunch time, but there's no subject I like talking about more than the St. Louis Art Fair, so this is perfect.
Then what you're working on for year-round to do each year, and congratulations to you, to all the artists, to your team, to the board, everyone. 30 years of how I introed it, consistently ranked as one of the top fine art fairs. I mean, what's the secret? What's the secret that keeps it being so successful, do you think?
You know, I had a really wonderful conversation with one of our founders, Susan Uchatel, who is still very much involved with the St. Louis Art Fair today. And I did ask her, I said, what was your secret? And she said, it's because we put the artists first. That was what she had always intended that the spirit of the art fair would be about. It would be about the artists. And I really took that to heart. I started off as a volunteer for the organization. Yes, I volunteered for about 12 years as an artist relations team member. So I know how important the artists are to this event, how special they are. And it's not uncommon to see me hugging artists throughout the weekend. They just really mean that much to me. Since I became executive director, it means even more.
Right.
So putting artists first is definitely our priority.
I mean, I looked back at some of just over the year. I mean, I've go to this event every year, and it's great. I've met you, though I don't think you remember meeting you. I have met you. You absolutely, your word is true. You go around shaking hands and meeting people. I pulled some old data, and I think you were, before we started the show, updating me, but I remember reading, this is a couple years back, that the amount of money raised or the art sold at that time was close to $1 million. It was over $900,000. You were telling me it's grown, and that's remarkable since even the pandemic.
Yes, and so now our average artist sales each year are somewhere around $2 million in art that is sold at the St. Louis Art Fair. And it is mind-blowing. You know, the St. Louis Art Fair consistently makes an economic impact on the region around $10 million. Is our regional economic impact. So we know that this festival is not only important for those artists who sell all of their wonderful artwork here on the streets of downtown Clayton, but it is important for the region as a whole because of that impact that it has. And so we don't take that lightly, and we need to make sure that we keep the caliber of the art fair as it has been in the past. We keep it high, and we keep our standards high. We follow the rules. You can't imagine, just following rules is something that can really make an art fair stand out amongst other shows. So
that's it. And I think we should point out too that this is a nationally juried art show. So for people, when they think of an art fair, explain that a bit more. I mean, you are pulling together people, it's adjudicated, right?
Sure. It is a juried process. So we are a juried fine art fair. And we receive around 1,000 applications from artists across the country and world that want to come to St. Louis to show their work. And of that pool of applicants, we usually select somewhere between 12 and 14% of those applicants to participate in the art fair. And when I say we, I am actually not a part of the jury process. I'm there to give support, but we every year select 5 independent jurors. And those 5 independent jurors are the ones that sit together in a room, hours and hours on end, looking at projected images of application images and artwork to try to make this final selection for each year's art fair. It is a long process.
It's a long, and it's narrowed down from, that's a lot of applications. But as you said, that's great that so many people from across the country and right here in St. Louis but are coming together. Well, we've got some photos. As we walk through the photos, we're going to kind of get into the nitty gritty of what people can expect. So starting things off, this is going to be and we've got a great video too that we'll play too while we're talking. So we're looking at the weekend of September 8th. That's coming up very soon. But what can people kind of expect? How many artists are going to be participating this year?
So we were going to have 190 exhibiting artists at the St. Louis Art Fair. It's going to be our biggest art fair yet. So we cannot wait for folks to meet all of these wonderful artists. There's going to be 36 artists from Missouri, which is wonderful. So even though we have this national and international presence, it's wonderful to see so many artists from Missouri showing their work as well. But we will have artists representing states from across the country, but also from Canada and Argentina. So they're coming from far and wide to participate in this show. And yes, it is going to be the details September 8th, 9th, and 10th of this year. And
we're going to get into, we have the artwork here on our set of Marian Steen, who's going to be joining us in the second half. But this is reflective of different mediums, right?
Yes.
So we have watercolor, we have paintings, there's sculpture, ceramics, photography. There's a lot though. Jewelry.
That's what we always love to say. We like to say wearable and non-wearable art. So yes, you will see fiber artists, you will see jewelers, all kinds of medium, mixed medium, glass. I always stop for the glass because those booths just sparkle and shine, and so they are pretty fantastic.
I will admit there are a few booths that I've been with my kids. Sometimes
yes, I'm sure.
Do not touch anything.
Yes.
But yes, because there's, as you mentioned, the glass work, metalworking, but the sculptures and everything. But yeah, it's really, really neat set up. So we were looking at some of the photos. There's a restaurant row. Tell us a bit about Restaurant Row.
So we lovingly call our restaurant row, we call it the pleasures of the palate. You get the double meaning there. But we have 12 restaurants featured on this restaurant row, and they are some regional favorites that you'll find there. So you're going to see anywhere from sweet treats from Clementine's Creamery, which everybody loves Clementine's, naughty and nice. But then we can also find some great new restaurants like Press St. Louis. You're going to find Deli Divine, and then some great restaurants who have been with us for many years, like Pappy's, Capitol Grill. So you're going to see pretty much everything that you have a taste for, you're going to find it. Yes.
That's great. And then there's all the different beverage booths, which is great because people get their drinks and start walking around and looking at the different booths. What's also great is this is a really family-friendly event. And so you have the Creative Castle. Tell me about that. And we're going to show a slide, too, we have of sort of the participants in that.
So we are this year going to have 10 Creative Castle activity centers. So there's going to be 10 booths, and where kids can come and choose one or all, depending on what you have time for. There's going to be so many wonderful crafts taking place, but this is a special area because we work with nonprofits. And so you're going to see 10 different nonprofits there in the Creative Castle, helping kids, showing them how to create these wonderful crafts and having something special to take home. They get to create their own work of art. And in the Creative Castle this year, we're going to have some live t-shirt printing. So for kids as well. So kids will be able to find a shirt that's their size at the art fair, which is nice. We don't always think of the kids when we think of our merchandise offerings at the art fair, but sometimes they want a t-shirt too. So they'll find that. And then we're also going to have our recycling information area because we're going to have a recycling program this year.
That's great.
And some local scout troops are helping us out with that. So you'll learn all about it in the Creative Castle.
Okay, and near the Creative Castle too, part of this wouldn't be complete. You have stages of performing arts, of live music and entertainment. And so we've got a quick graphic. I don't think we can go through everyone who's participating, but tell us a bit about on the live entertainment side.
Sure. Well, what's special is for our performing arts stages. So we have two of them, the main stage, and then in the Creative Castle, there is the performing arts stage. And you're going to see dancers, dance groups. You're going to see live bands. You're going to see solo performers. Just about everything will be performing from those stages, even some spoken word performances. But what's great about the performing arts stage is we have a focus on celebrating the cultural diversity of the St. Louis region. And so you'll see Irish dancers, you'll see flamenco dancers, and then you'll see some great spoken word performances, like I mentioned. So there's going to be some wonderful acts there. But not all of the performances are on the stages.
Okay.
So we are going to have come back for the St. Louis Art Fair this year, our Clayton High School Buskers. And
that'll be great.
It's a club that the students have formed, and they come and they perform on the streets. And so you'll get to see them up close and personal performing for us.
Oh, that'll be great.
Yeah.
That'll be really put it all together. Well, that's great. We've got the information there for you on the screen. You can find out more details. All of this is really on the website for the St. Louis Art Fair. So we're going to put up that graphic. These are the dates, September 8th through the 10th, right there in downtown Clayton. You can't miss it. We have such a clear video. It's so cool. We're going to show that in the second segment. I'll be sure to show that. But those are the dates and times. And then the next graphic is for the website and social media handles. So you can go just get all the latest updates. So Facebook and YouTube at Cultural Festivals, and then Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at STLArtFair, and then stlouisartfair.com for the website. But don't go anywhere, Sarah. Thank you. You're going to stay on set with me. When we come back, we're going to be joined by a very special artist who's been participating in the St. Louis Art Fair every year since it started. Okay, we're gonna have more after this quick break. Stay with us.
What I love about St. Louis is the 79 unique neighborhoods nestled into 108 city parks, including Forest Park, which is actually larger than Central Park in New York, and of course, the beautiful Tower Grove Park where I'm at now. Oh, the St. Louis Blues. We've got the St. Louis Surge, two-time WBCBL champions. We've got Harris Stowe, WashU, St. Louis University, and of course, the 11-time World Series champion, St. Louis Cardinals. So come experience St. Louis.
Hey, boss. Okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
You sure?
I said I'm fine.
Since I was little, it was only like me and my parents.
You think you created family out of characters?
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna take that, make it into a song.
Put me to bed, see you in the morning. With the first date, Superman, but it wasn't on it. And we lost it. In my head, in my head, in my head. Where you at, on the way out. In my head, in my head, in my head.
Hey, son.
Hey, Pop.
You can talk to me.
It's been really, really hard for me.
Is it okay to call you Mom?
Of course you can.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kids should know.
I'm Sarah Thompson and welcome back to City Corner. Today we're talking about the St. Louis Art Fair. It's coming up September 8th, 9th, and 10th. And this year is the 30th anniversary of the fair. In the first segment, I was joined by Sarah Umlauf, who's the Executive Director of Cultural Festivals, which produces the Art Fair. She's still on set with me, but I'm now also joined by Marian Steen, who is an artist who, Marian, is this correct? You have displayed your artwork, sold your artwork since the very beginning, all 30 years, or this will be the 30th year.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for bringing your beautiful artwork. And congratulations to you too.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a wonderful show and I'm privileged and honored to be in it. I was on the steering committee before the show ever existed. They asked 2 street artists from the St. Louis area to come in and help guide them, which was really wise because, you know, we have a whole different perspective sitting there on the street than the people behind the scenes. So Sarah Russell and I were on the committee. We met at 7:30 once a week in the morning, which is not my finest hour.
I know.
But it was great. And they listened to a lot of advice about parking and spacing of the tents. And there's so many little details that help to make a show run smoothly.
We've been on and off camera here talking about all the differences of instances of things that have happened with the rain and the weather. I mean, what have you noticed the most that has changed over the 30 years as an artist being in the fair?
Well, I think probably the efficiency. The storm control is amazing. And they come in if they hear a big storm is coming, even if it hasn't appeared. They come in and we go out, zip up our tents, and they're safe. So that's really appreciated. And the crowds have increased 1,000-fold. I mean, people start asking me in January, when's the art show going to be? Are you going to be in it? Well, and the St. Louis community absolutely loves this show. They love the art show like they love the Cardinals, or used to.
I'm really taking that, but yeah, no, it is. It's a real beloved event here, and I know people really come out and support it. I want to talk about your work because thank you for bringing it, and you were so sweet. You handed me, you're like, hey, here's a list of some of the stuff I've done. Right. We should mention it's pages long. Marian, a graduate of Washington University. Yeah. You have your work in permanent collections. I mean, your resume is very, very long. So thank you. And I was on your website. Beautiful work. Let's talk about you work in the medium of painting watercolor.
Watercolor,
so
mixed
tell
media.
Me, tell me about your process and technique, and we can kind of go from there.
Well, I fell in love with watercolor years ago, and I love how it moves, and I start my large paintings, really large, which I could never bring here, out on the driveway. And I lift them and let the paint run. And then I add many years ago, I started wanting to get a little more dimensional. So I add sticks and strings. Okay. I especially have gotten into embroidery threads these days. It's really fun.
Interesting.
And kind of an honor to my grandmother who did a lot of embroidery.
Oh, that's beautiful. And Sarah's holding up one of your pieces.
This is seasons, and that's winter, spring, summer, and fall. And I have individual paintings like that, but I thought, wouldn't it be fun to put them all in one? And so I'm real happy, and it's painted on handmade paper.
Okay.
And you can see all the texture and dimension.
Yeah, and I was reading when I was on your website and just reading that one of your inspirations is nature. But if you want to expand on that, I mean, was that something consistent from when you were a student all the way through, or is it changed over the years?
At WashU, it's very, very traditional education. So
Okay.
you paint from models and draw, and watercolor is not that emphasized, but when you grow up and become a mother and you have to deal with high chairs and babies and all that, you start looking for something that's a little easier to clean up quickly. So that's where the watercolor came back in. And I get inspired from all kinds of things. I have right now I have a little album in my phone that it says inspirations for paintings. A lot of it is landscapes and trees and all of that. But even cracks in the street. I used to teach workshops, and I would have my students come out and spread on the street, and we would paint the cracks in the street. That would give them an impetus for composition. So just recently, I was in down on the hill in a restaurant, and I was with my husband. I said, "Oh, stop! I have to photograph this." And I photographed this big hole in the street, and it's in my inspirational album
Because of just the way that the
shape.
cracks, the shapes.
Yeah,
That's so
exactly.
interesting.
Yeah.
I'm always so fascinated because it's in talking over the years, especially here at the station, we've interviewed artists before, what everyone's, their process is, but their inspirations are so unique to them, and then how they choose to express that. I always wonder, and really when we were, Sarah was commenting in the first segment about the high level of sales from the art fair, how do you balance as an artist the sort of business side of what a potential buyer would want with what you are feeling creatively as an artist, as a creator? Or is it just, does it find a symbiosis? Is it just exist that way?
Well, it's very strange. That's an interesting question. I do have moments when I really wanted to do that quadratip of the seasons. Also, right now I'm painting a very large painting. I hope it's done by the art fair. And it's very abstract. But I also do things that are a little bit more like flowers and trees. And it happens in here. In the fall, there's nothing better than going out and painting fall trees. Oh my gosh, it's wonderful. But they're always abstracted. They're not literal, and they're not like photographs.
But do you feel like with the buyers, I always just wonder, do you feel influenced by them, or do you feel that there's that space to just create, to say, this is what I want to do, whether somebody's going to buy it or not?
Both.
Both?
Yeah. Last year at the art fair, a couple who have purchased art from me before came and they said, "We have your paintings. We'd like one that's all black and white." And I have never done that before. So I did, and it's large, black and white painting. And my hand kept going to color. No. And it was really fun and challenging. And since then, I've done one other that's sold. And now I have one I'm going to put into the art fair.
Interesting. That's really
That is
interesting.
the dynamic, the commissions that are received at the art fair.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And especially when they come to you with something that is their idea and you hadn't thought of it, and you put the two together, and it's very interesting.
Oh, so no, I imagine, I couldn't imagine that would happen, because you see, when you're walking around, see just the artists, all their creations, but as someone who, appreciates art, you might have an idea and say, hey, is that something that you've done? So it sounds like been developed and cultivated buyers, the same buyers over the years. That's really
I
neat.
have people at this art fair and even in Kansas City who have purchased over 25 pieces.
Wow.
Throughout, it's a long time.
Yeah.
And she's also made a reputation amongst the artists. I actually get phone calls from fellow artists asking to be in a booth next to her. Which is very sweet.
That's really sweet.
I didn't know that.
I wanted to be sure you were kind enough to bring, I guess this is the t-shirt, the very first one?
The very first,
so 30 years.
1994. So I did this design for the St. Louis Art Fair, and it has it in Roman numerals.
And so okay, got it. This is your design, and it was for the t-shirt too.
Yes,
wow,
exactly.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's great. Thank you for hanging on to that, and for bringing it. Sarah? Are you doing another? Each year you have merchandise, I know. So it's what you call the commemorative print. Is that what it is?
Yes. This was My print from 2002, is that right?
Yes, 2002.
Yeah. Right.
So every year we feature a commemorative print at the art fair, and Marian and I were actually discussing it. It is something that is an honor for an artist, but it's also just so special for us as well. We always feel that the commemorative print really captures the sentiment of that year, and so that is. Definitely you will find our commemorative prints this year at the St. Louis Art Fair. We haven't unveiled it just yet.
I don't even know who it is.
You don't know who it is. But no, that is very special at the art fair.
Thank you both for being on here. Just as we wrap things up, I did want to point to something that you had said off camera, that you've over the years had a chance to get to know other artists, help even give input and guidance to artists in terms of how they display. And so is there this sort of developed friendships and camaraderie?
Oh, absolutely. And many, many years ago, before COVID, we used to have a takedown party at our house. And I can't tell you how much fun that was.
Really?
You're done with the show, you've finished. Usually everybody's successful. And an amazing amount of artists play musical instruments. Drums, little bitty drums and harmonicas and guitars. And it's really fun. But the St. Louis Art Fair is really focused on helping new and young artists come to the show and learn how to do their slides and their displays. And it's a wonderful opportunity for them to learn. And they really emphasize that. I think it's just great.
Well, I appreciate you both coming on and sharing the insight of, because as we look at this, I think sometimes as someone who, when you're a resident, it's something fun to do. For a lot of people, it's their opportunity each year to buy beautiful, fine art. But then you don't always hear the stories on the backside of it. One, how to produce the event, which is a ton of work. And then Marian, as you talked about, just the communication and the camaraderie and just the learning that happens amongst the artists. So I appreciate you sharing that. And I appreciate you both being here. Again, I try to be very cognizant of time and schedules, and I know this is coming up and there's a lot to do, so thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
All right, well, we've got some graphics before we wrap things up so you can find out more information. We're going to throw up the dates again for the St. Louis Art Fair. Again, the 30th anniversary of the fair. It's taking place September 8th, 9th, and 10th in downtown Clayton. That's the details right there for the times, and then you can head next to the website and as well as social media just to kind of get updates on the live entertainment and the restaurants that Sarah had mentioned earlier. Just all the details. They'll also put up a PDF, I believe, of the program, right? That'll go there. And then we do have one more slide if you want to see more of Marian's artwork. I believe we have, there we go, mariansteen.com. And if it's all right,
sure.
I would put your email, but it was on the site, msteenart@me.com. But you can learn more about her years of work and see her artwork as well. Again, thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you
really
so much.
appreciate it.
And thank you at home for watching, and keep it right here on STL TV. Experience St. Louis.